There's a lot of talk right now through the national media, especially ESPN or NBC, about how Tom Brady should not be able to be in the coach's booth for a Monday Night Football game for the Las Vegas Raiders when during the week he's a commentator for Fox Sports, and he's able to get these production meetings week after week with head coaches, coaching staff, players, possible front office members. He shouldn't be able to get that information week after week and then be able to be in the coach's box for the Raiders. Possibly causes conflict of interest between Tom Brady, the league as a whole, and the Raiders. So here's a few things I think I want to say. You know, my first thought was that if we're really going to sit here and think that these head coaches, like take Sean McVay, for example, if Tom Brady was going to go be commentating a game between the LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals for Fox Sports, and he had a chance to interview both Jonathan Gannon and Sean McVay, do we really think that Sean McVay is going to sit there and tell Tom Brady, hey, this is exactly how we're going to play? Now, again, that was my first thought, is that probably wouldn't happen. But you do have some announcers, commentators, broadcast media members like Joe Buck and others saying that, during the week, these guys trust us. These head coaches, these players, these front office people, they trust us when we're in production meetings to hold on to this information and not convey it to the other team, the world, before game time, because then that's possibly giving away the secrets. And I think to some of these, not to some, I think to most of these play-by-play guys, color commentators, the known integrity and the known accountability, the known professionalism in their journalism world, that's really important to them. And I don't think, even if they were told it, as much as I might disagree that happens with every coach, every week, for every game, I might disagree that happens. But I do think for some guys, it probably does happen. And with Tom Brady, I would probably, I guess, lean more to the fact that, maybe these coaches, some of these coaches, Tom Brady played with Mike Vrabel. Tom Brady played with some of these NFL head coaches. Tom Brady played against some of these NFL head coaches. Tom Brady played against DeMeco Ryans. Tom Brady played on teams that played against Mike McDaniel. Or, any coach probably has some sort of memory of playing against, with, or coaching against or with Tom Brady. So these guys probably have personal connections with Brady, and maybe occasionally there'll be a like, hey, we're going to attack him this way because we know we can win the game that way. But that's a specific situation. I don't think the way that the Rams would play the Cardinals, or the way the Rams would play the Jets, or the Titans, or any other team that they're going to play this year or have played in the past, I don't think that that's just how they're going to play the Raiders. And so my thing is, I just don't see it as information that's pertinent to how the Raiders want to themselves go against the other team. Because week by week, that game plan is going to change. There might be similar basics. The defensive scheme might be similar. The areas to attack from the offense might be similar. But the game plan itself is not just going to be the same week to week, team to team. These are professional football players. These are professional coaches. These are professional front office members. They know that week to week, things change. Some players play from week to week. Some players don't play from week to week. Sometimes opposing players are playing from week to week. Sometimes opposing players aren't playing week to week. And some players are targeted more in some weeks than others. It's just like, that's my first thing to say. I don't think it's anything for Brady to be in the coach's booth. I don't, to be honest. I don't. My second point is, and this point probably doesn't matter, admittedly, the Raiders still suck. We saw them lose 20-9 on Monday Night Football. We saw them offensively look completely incompetent. Geno Smith threw 3 interceptions. Yes, the first one was kind of an unlucky bounce. And the last one that he threw that was in the end zone, it was kind of a nothing play. They were already probably losing that game with 4 or 5 minutes left to go. But the Chargers, I mean, they allowed the Raiders to really do nothing. Genty didn't have a great game. The offensive line had a bad performance. The wide receiving group didn't have a stellar game. Brock Bowers was held to a below average game, albeit with a knee ailment. And Geno Smith had an awful game. I mean, it was bad how Geno played on Monday Night Football. And so my point, I guess, kind of, is even if Tom Brady at this point is relaying information, it's not working. And maybe that's possibly these coaches messing with Brady. You know, if these coaches are saying something to Brady and this is the performance the Raiders put out there, my immediate thought is, what lies are these teams telling Tom Brady? What misconceptions are they making Tom Brady think about their team? I mean, just really, because the Raiders scored 9 points on Monday. They had an extra day to game plan here. And if this mythical power of Tom Brady to just get the opposing team's game plan, play for play, word for word, cadence to cadence, somebody's lying then. Somebody's lying. I guess that's just my thought, is that it's not working or somebody's lying. And again, if it's happening, I guess people have a point that it's not a good thing. But again, if that's the performance that the Raiders put out there after getting the information, I just don't think it's information that matters. I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are going to see Tom Brady doing something, and they're going to have a problem with it. People had a problem with him going to commentating. Now, I had a problem with him just immediately supplanting Greg Olsen as the number 1 guy for Fox, but I think that's a different conversation. I think the conversation of him just being a commentator, a lot of people didn't like that idea because they don't want to see Tom Brady anymore. They don't want to see Tom Brady on their TV. And now that they have to see him on Sunday, you think it makes those people any happier that they get to see him in the coach's booth on Monday? Some people don't like that. And I think that's more of the story than the actual story of him being in the stands, and him being at the games, of him being in the coaching booth. I just don't think it's really much of a story other than people just don't want to see Tom Brady anymore. And here's the other last main point I think I want to drive home. And this is a quote from Greg Olsen, who I brought up. If there's anybody in the media world who wants to take a strike or take a dig at Tom Brady, it's probably the guy who had the number 1 spot at Fox Sports taken from him. Greg Olsen says, what better resource than someone who's both financially obligated to the success of the organization and has 20 plus years of top-line experience? Why wouldn't you have him there? Why wouldn't you have him at least on the sideline? Why wouldn't you have him with a headset on? Just why would the Raiders not give themselves the opportunity? Especially because this is something Tom Brady can do maybe once or twice in a given year. If he's working every single Sunday and it's not a Raiders game, Tom Brady's not going to be watching the Raiders game. This is a chance once or twice a season that Tom Brady gets to do. I'm sure in his mind, why would he not be there? So in my opinion, this really is not that big of a story, at least not as big as some of the other national media members are making it. I think it is a story, but I think for reasons that aren't really pertinent to the 2025 NFL season. If you disagree with me, let me know. If there's something about this I'm not thinking of, let me know, and we'll have a discussion about it. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.